Hi there, this continues our video series on the version 2 BigCommerce product import process. The previous one was just the starting point, and this is where the real slicing and dicing really takes hold. So this would be Mod 1 basic cleanup. All right, so previous thing we had two sheets with information that we need to splice into one and change the naming convention. We created version 1 of the spreadsheet. So we said once we've got the basic information all in one sheet, we don't want to make alterations to that one. We're going to make a copy of it, and that will be our working spreadsheet. So we leave these all alone under source, and then we have R2, which is just a copy of R1. This is the worksheet that we work on from this point forward. Once again, because what we're doing is destructive processes, and you never know when we're going to have to go all the way back to ground and retrace our steps. If you had multiple worksheets to start with, some of these steps in Mod 1 you've already done. So we had the source data, which we neutralized the formatting, and then we created Mod 1, which is where we're at now. This usual stuff, we bold and freeze the column headings. We identify whatever the hell they're using as the manufacturer's part number and put in our naming convention, product code SKU. And now we start doing the destructive things of removing obvious garbage. This is just the first whack at basic cleanup. There's several cleanup steps and pruning steps that we go through as we process this spreadsheet. So this is just the most rudimentary. If you don't do these cleanup steps, you will fuck things up later on. Never assume for a moment the vendor has given you information that's not crap. There's a variety of reasons why this happens, but we won't get into it. First thing right off the bat is we want to make sure we don't have any records that don't have at least a catalog number, because if they don't, it's useless and we can stop there and delete them. So we do a data sort and sort by the product code SKU. And so anything that doesn't have a product number will fall to the bottom. We're lucky we don't have any that are that way. Now it's quite likely that there might be duplicate products, so we use conditional formatting here to see if we can identify if we've got a duplicate records, and we want to delete the duplicates. This happens all the time. I have no idea why. So conditional formatting, highlighted cell rules, duplicate values, and now it's going to do light red. So if we see anything, any color-coded red here, we see they're duplicates, and then we find the duplicate value, the second one, delete the second one. Hopefully there's only two. But this is a good way of checking real quick and immediately that we do not have duplicate records, because that will thoroughly fuck things up. Okay, we see nothing in red, so we don't have any duplicate values. Good. Now, cleaning up some of the obvious garbage stuff. There's going to be lots of columns of information that was really important to the vendor, but is useless to us. And to try and make this more easier to manage with, because this has got, 45 columns to it, which gets unwieldy as we're working, we want to take out the stuff that's not important to us. So, Prop 65 warning, not important. Keywords is important. Country of origin, not important. ROHS indicator, not important. You get the idea. Essentially, we want to remove the rows that have no descriptive information or product images that we're going to use. Also, in the case of our BigCommerce site, the vendor may provide more than a couple images. In this case, the vendor provided information for potentially 5 images for every product. In BigCommerce, we only use 3 at most, so we don't need the image 4 or image 5 information. We delete that. We'd only keep the information for 3. We look for the URLs for downloading the specification sheets and the installation guides. Each vendor is going to name these damn things different, so when we find them, we change them to our naming convention. So in this case, the spec sheet URL, they named primary spec sheet URL, not terribly helpful. So we'll take the primary off here. That's a little bit easier for us to work with. And for some strange reason, in this case, they did create we've got URLs for file name 2, which they call brochure, which is actually the installation guide, not a brochure. So we actually, and of course they gave us a column that says brochure, which is not useful. All I needed was that, so we're going to change that to install guide URL. All right. Look around a bit and try, and sometimes the vendor will have either embedded in the descriptions or on a separate column a status field, which might indicate that the product has been discontinued. So look around for that if you can find that. Try and remove the discontinued products. Unless, of course, you think we have some of those on hand, and then run an Eclipse stock report and keep the few discontinued products that we might have in stock. The odds of us having a discontinued product on the shelf is slim. Okay, so our first swipe basic cleanup, we've reduced the number of columns, we've renamed a couple of columns, and we've got something that's pretty workable here. We've the duplicate values there, we've checked and there are none. We have descriptions. The description fields have been labeled accordingly. We have product heights, weights, and dimensions. We have an awful lot of features and specifications. These will be used later for constructing the description. In the case of this particular vendor, we've identified our images. Since we're going to have image file names and image URL columns, best to name that appropriate now. As you clean these things up as you go along, I mean, make it as easy as and as intuitive as possible. So that's why having some kind of naming standard that you use across all vendors, regardless of how they name things. Spec sheet URL we've got identified. I goofed in the previous step and thought the brochure was the install guide. Turns out this one is. There's going to be OFUCs that you do all the time as you're doing cleanup. Make sure that you double check yourself before you do something catastrophic. All right, so we've identified that as the install guide URL. Use my own damn suggestions and change the names. Okay, we've got an order quantity that tells us how the pricing is to be understood. So this is price per each. All right, so that's good. That's good. That completes the first swipe of basic cleanup. And that completes the video for Mod 1 step of the BigCommerce import process. Thank you.